Hi everyone. Okay, so he's nicely introduced me. You know who I am. Um, yeah. So I'm just going to give you a short overview of what the HPC Carpentry is, what they're about, and just to give you a scale. I hope you're at the right conference. So HPC, hardwood, plywood, chipboard. We've got a lecture, but in case that's actually going to do nothing to do with anything. Um, So you are at the right conference and it looked familiar. So I'll just quickly go over what the Carpentries is, and I'll give a very brief history of the Carpentries. Each one of these, I think, could be a talk in itself, so I'll just go over things very quickly. So where does the HPC Carpentry fit in? The current status, our roadmap and challenges, and then there's a mini version, which is my little project, and this wouldn't be my talk if I didn't push that little slide in there. Some of you might know what I'm on about, but the rest of you will see. And then I'll just lastly mention some of the comms channels if you want to get in touch. I could also mention I'm on the board of directors of the Carpentries. I'm not on the steering committee for the HPC Carpentry, but I regularly attend the meetings. And so when we wanted to submit something for the conference, nobody was able to do it. So I said, yes, I'll do it if you'll help me. so Toby wrote the abstract, and the other guys have given some feedback. And for the rest, let's hope I remember what I need to remember. So with regard to the Carpentries, it all started with this guy, Greg Wilson, back in 1998. And I don't think I can summarize it any better than what Greg said in a talk, but you can find on the internet, which was at HiCon in 2014. And this is what he said: we are lab skills for scientific computing. And basically the project started because the physicists and astronomers, which he mentions here, would come to they were using HPCs, and they would come to him and ask him to make their 50,000 lines of Fortran a zillion times faster. But they've never heard of version control. They haven't heard of, they don't even know what functions are. And one thing that Greg said that is important is unfair to look down on people if they are not doing things right because nobody's ever told them. And so, okay, so yeah, no, I'm still on track. So knowing about version control and functions does not quite solve all our problems, because we can send folks on the Carpentry. So that's how the Carpentry started, is to teach them about version control, to teach them about the functions and so on. And now they know about those things. But they don't know how to use these things on an HPC, or necessarily knowing those things doesn't make their code faster on an HPC. So researchers with HPC requirements do not necessarily know how to effectively use the HPC, right? And if you're an HPC user or you're an HPC admin, then you'll know that when people submit jobs on the login nodes, or they submit nodes, and it just so happens that the login node is of a better spec than their laptop or their CPU or their desktop. So they do get some improvement, but they don't really get a lot of improvement because their code was not written correctly for this. So what the solution we thought, or what the group that started the HPC Carpentry thought, is that a possible solution to this is to present workshops using the Carpentry's style and pedagogy, and by developing highly interactive workshops and training materials, and to empower novices to effectively leverage HPC to solve scientific and technical problems in their domains. So just a bit of the history, and I got a lot of this from a talk by Andrew Reed. He leads the steering committee at the moment, and he gave a talk at where was his talk? I can't remember now. But it's a talk that's on the internet, and if you are interested in sort of more first-hand experience, it's probably good. I've been enjoying tracking down these videos from their talks and listening to how things all came about. So I did a Git search into GitHub to see what the earliest commit was that I could find, and that was in 2013 by, I think it was Compute Canada. They have a different name now. And then in 2017, there was a blog post by Peter Steyn, where he also explained how he went about developing this, which he called HPC in a day. And I kind of got the feeling that that is the very first instance of the Carpentry's lesson coming into existence and starting being used. So then these group of people that wanted to get HPC carpentries going, they tried to do a lot at different conferences there. They were present at CarpentryCon 2018, 20, and 22, where they gave talks, or they just have like a supercomputing birds of a feather sessions, and they would give talks, give workshops, get feedback, and see what people thought about this idea. And so in the winter of 2021, HPC Carpentry was accepted into the Carpentry's incubator. Now, the Carpentry's incubator is sort of a preparation space for lessons and lesson plans to be incorporated as officially into the Carpentries. So it will be in the incubator for a while, where it gets tested, where we see if it works, how can we improve it, get feedback from the community, and eventually it might be adopted. It's pretty much the same way. If you're familiar with the carpentries, you might know there's software carpentries, data carpentries, and library carpentries. So software was the sort of very first one, and then data and library went into the incubator and then into the official curricula that's now available. And then in 2021, they started working towards lesson program incubation. So that's, you can either have an individual lesson or the whole lesson program. So that then went into incubation and formally accepted to the lesson program incubation in June 2023. And then in April 2024, workflow lessons enters testing. So there are 2 lessons, Snowflake and what's the other one? I forgot its name. It is going to come out at some stage. I'll mention it later. Some lessons to cover some of the workflows that are used on HPC. I started attending the meetings beginning of last year, beginning of 2024, mainly because I got interested after a workshop and everything, an HPC workshop and everything that goes wrong with it, like internet, login nodes, stuff like that. And I built the mini HPC, which I'll now have to get to very quickly. So where are we now? We are doing things in the Carpentry's way, the typical 2-day settings. Students type along with the instructor, and then we get lots of feedback. And the students go away with hopefully some muscle memory and the required vocabulary. And although they're not experts, after 2 days, they know what the answers should look like, and hopefully they also know how to look for answers on their own. So currently, we used to have our own shell lesson, but then that was deprecated in favor of software carpentry lesson. So you can just use that now, and then that's usually the first day, and the second day it's the HPC Pro, which has been reworked since we've been working on it the last couple of years, I know, because we've also been contributing to that. And then there are the two workflow management lessons that I mentioned, Snowflake and Maestro. So if those are things that you use in your group, then you'll know what I'm talking about. So the roadmap, at the moment, HPC Carpentry is in the lesson program incubation. We have a checklist of items from the Carpentry handbook, and we are working through these things to comply with the general committee policy. And the challenges, which you could probably imagine, is to demonstrate the value of HPC carpentries to the HPC centers. Some say we have our own stuff, and a lot of them have good material. But we hope to they'll adopt this and contribute, because we can all work together, we can make it much better lessons. And then there's also the question, should we or can we standardize to cloud cluster for the lessons? I don't think it's something my group will go for cloud, because I want us to train on specific HPCs, but so that's the problem. What is the best way to go about it? And here's the mini HPC. And what I did was, for my SSI fellowship, I looked at presenting carpentry stuff offline. And then at the beginning of 2023, I think I had to run a carpentry's intro, and came across all these problems, login nodes that were overwhelmed by jobs that shouldn't have been running on them, and so forth. And we decided we needed this mini version that we can take along. And literally, I took it to the HPC days in Durham in a co-op bag, and you can take your own HPC along. It runs exactly the same software stack as any other HPC, and you can now run the HPC intro on that. It still needs some testing to see how many people it can accommodate. And I don't know if you're familiar with EASY, the EESSI, which I use for loading the modules or pre-compiled modules for just about all the software you can think of. So, comms channels, if you want, you can come and talk to me. If I don't know, probably know who to send you to. And you can visit our website. The HPC Carpentry meets twice every 2 weeks. And there's also, of course, the HPC Carpentry's channel on the Carpentry Slack workspace. And if you're quick, you can get those two QR codes with QR Carpentry's offline and HPC Carpentry's website. And then I want to just ask if you have any suggestions for more domain-specific conferences where we can reach more people from HPC Carpentry's target audience, so people that do training for learners or people who would host workshops. If you are interested in teaching, organizing, or hosting an HPC Carpentry's workshop, and if you are interested in getting involved with maintaining the lessons, then please do contact me or contact make use of any of those comms channels to let us know. And that's just some links to the talks I mentioned, Peter Steinbach's blog post, and so forth. Did I make it?
Oh, Jannetta. We have one question. If these carpentries enter testing in 2021 and it takes years for testing, how do you keep up with the evolving HPC landscape?
Okay, so I think that the easiest answer is that the intro lesson is very basic, and I don't think that will change much. Maybe things that build on that intro would become more specific. So I would say that the intro and carpentries target those people, the people with no knowledge. And those basic skills will probably stay the same for quite a while, unless we find different ways of logging into SSHs, submitting Slurm jobs. I think that will stay the same for a while. I don't know if that answers the question.
Thank you very much.